Okay, hello everyone. I have found some time to share some ideas today, and a topic arose to me alongside inner visions of some kind about the soul of matter. And for some reason, when I wrote this, the soul of matter, I have a piece of paper in front of me with notes I've made. When the idea came to me, I was like somebody, like it's something we cannot avoid as human beings. About the source of what moves the physical. And in the subtitle, I've written strategies towards the beyond. To simplify my attitude, or to share how I'm approaching this, pretty much in a lot of my talks, I've talked about the past. The present is very obvious. Many people are talking about the present, but the future is what is left. The greatest ability of human beings is to make decisions in which future generations will have reasons to smile about. Now, where to begin? The soul of matter. I find that every human being, based on their design and their condition, designed how they were raised, what sort of memories they have of their own self and the world, every person is like, first of all, an antenna, and a unique antenna. We're designed to exist in the same world, but we're not designed to experience it in the same way. So what that means is that there is various starting points, as if existence is like this mountain where we have not as a species gone to the summit, but every point of attention has been thrown on the mountainside somewhere. No two beings are in the same, no two human beings are experiencing the same. you know they cannot, on some level. Now, anyways, so I'm pretty much saying every human being has a different starting point, and what I can do, at least, is to start from how my eyes have opened to the world. Now, the concept of the soul, I will tell you, it's strange when I look at where I was born on this planet, and in what culture, what was the first wave of culture. I pretty much envision children to be like how would I say it? It's like Michelangelo has this quote. He says, "I saw the angel in the stone and set it free." And so children are like giant pieces of stone where at first the environment and the world outside of them sculpts them until they have enough conscious clarity to realize that they are actually the pilot of their attention. So that means it's as if the world is sculpting you until you can suddenly sculpt yourself. And this is why the word self-awareness, self-consciousness, just being conscious that you are animate, it's like, some scholars have said to be aware that you are aware is a huge significance. It's a huge deal. It is pretty much, you can say, the unknown X variable factor that human beings have, that all the other species, if they had personalities, they'd be like, yo, what is going on with these creatures, it's like a bird. You like, sometimes the human mind, I mean, the way we communicate with things is that we animate them. Like, you even see it in the film Castaway, where the dude's like on an island so long, he looks at he like makes a volleyball into a human, right, and begins communicating with it. That means it's like the maintenance of our let's say, superior consciousness in consideration to inferior species in the world, is that it's something we maintain. It is something we keep, you know. That means it's people could be like, even they say societies like it's a illusion, culture. Terence McKenna says culture is not your friend, all of these. But on some level there are certain programs of activities that are keeping us animate in the way we are, so that's noteworthy. Anyways, the soul of matter, to break down the sentence, pretty much it's like I require to explain my view on the soul and my view on matter. First thing is that we are material. This cannot be ignored. There is a materialistic dimension to life that, as long as you're on this planet, seems to linger. I shouldn't say linger. It is with you. That means it's like people sometimes have this view, the concept of enlightenment, like in ancient times, it means like you've transcended into pure energy beyond this dimension, like they have this view. But I would say it's more like the metamorphosis of a caterpillar, but with the realization that the butterfly will die one day, right? So the metamorphosis, it's as if it's like it's like awakening to a second life while you're alive. I would say this is an important definition to consider to enlightenment. And enlightenment, you can say, at least from the mystic's perspective, it's seeking the ultimate in the unknown. It's the most ultimate state of being. But to me, that ultimate state of being is a self-awareness. That this awareness to self makes you realize you were never the first self you opened your eyes in. So I'm pretty much saying it's not that we're not objects, we are more than objects, but the objective dimension is there. Now, if I use my memory, of course, that's required for being a podcaster. But it's as if sometimes I have this way of thinking, this playful way of thinking. When I think about things, I wonder, okay, first of all, how do I see it? And then after I've figured out, like I've seen how my approach is, I wonder as if how would I see something if I had no previous context, as if like you were teleported into a planet and you had no clue what was going on, what you are, where you are, and it's like, okay, start from here and figure it out. Do you know? Believe it or not, those who attempt to reinvent the wheel find a space where various variations of a concept can arise from. Do you know? Which I'll talk about the inner realms a bit more. So pretty much, if I had this view that I had just arrived here, just a very simple view, it's as if you see objects moving, and then you're wondering why these objects are moving, and then you wonder how these objects keep on moving. Do you know? And so when we wonder about how objects are moving, right, it's as if we cannot ignore the notion of gravity and the notion of light. Many people don't realize that there are beings on this planet under the impression that they're living as people, when honestly it's like consciousness is translating light and filtering it into a dualistic separation to then be a self in a world. So I am telling you, there's a natural way to look at life where it's as if before the human voice began painting landscapes over matter, which is just pure existence. When I walk in nature, I experience this, to be honest. I'll tell you, I've had walks in nature where it's as if like there's no reason to be a personality. You're just there. It's like everything is just here, right? This is honestly a very profound thing to notice, that whatever you do in this life, energy is here. And hear my words correctly, energy is here, is the here. Do you know what I mean? It is the here and now. Right now, sure, you can say, okay, Mr.Within's talking to you. You can say, okay, Amin is talking to you. That's fine. You can say, energy is being, or energy is happening. So you see, to me, underlying all my perceptions of truth was like a point of attention where various axi, various, like there was a lot of it's like acknowledging something that is an axis, as if from a central position various lines have been drawn, and these lines open up dualities, and these dualities are, for example, it's simple, it's complex, it's good, it's bad, it's right, it's wrong, do you know, it's efficient, it's inefficient, you know, it is cruel, it is kind. You see, these are it's like our psychology is inside a self-projected program that, by the nature of being an individual self, and ends up opening many relationships with the world. Do you know? I'm telling you, if whoever you are, just give yourself 20 minutes in this lifetime to just sit down, forget the word meditation, and just sit down and watch what is happening. It's like there's a point where language realizes it is limited. When language realizes it's limited and the attention is moving experientially, that means there is no conceptual solution to the future of the human attention. That means it's as if what's been happening, and I think, of course, this is part of, I would say, the destiny of our history, the kind of, rocks we've thrown in the ocean of history, and what kind of, waves they create. Technology is making human beings adjust to their inner life, but I feel that's a phase. I feel it just had to happen. Just like how, at least from a religious perspective, if you're a religious person, it's as if your great source human, the source human idea, let's say Adam, from the Abrahamic traditions, right? Adam sinned, which means there was a dissension. That means it's as if due to imperfection, there is a reason now to seek the most perfect heaven or paradise. Do you see? Now that notion where some people are like, why couldn't God? This is something I say, I'm considered as some people, to certain audience. But it's as if the first mistake had to be made for the concept of justice or something correct to be there. Do you know? That means if there was no hell, would there be a concept or even an idea of heaven? Do you know? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like a duality. And the thing that's happening with the human species and our strategy towards the future is that we are awakening from dualities into the recognition that there are many layers of how something has meant something. It's as if, think of it as if, sure, you've been existentially one person your whole life, but experientially, how many different ways have your eyes opened to the reality, and even your eyes opening up in your inner realms when you're dreaming. Like, there was this great poet, by the name of Attar of Nishapur, and Attar, he said this thing that it's like, look at I don't remember the exact words, but I think it was something like this, where he's like, look at the secret wisdom and the jewels that are found in your dream states. That means back in the day, they didn't have TV, any sort of, sci-fi going on television, nothing. It was just an inner in there. When they were asleep, the world moved differently. And there was something that was aware of that reality and the waking reality. There's a huge significance here. It's as if there has been an unknown watcher in every known moment of our life, and we have ignored it because culture said imagination doesn't exist. You see what I'm saying? It's as if rather than understanding the multidimensionality, the multiplicity of reality, we have cowered away in either everything has to be one or everything has to be good or bad, chaos and order. Do you see? And it's as if we have not realized that there are variations there. It's as if there are ways, like, think of it this way, whoever you are right now as a human being, there's probably ways that you haven't moved your body, which you can, and you don't know. Do you know? Do you see what I'm saying? So think of how many ways there are for the attention on existence to simultaneously in its inner realms project. So pretty much this significance of like, okay, what is moving matter here, and then the question of what is the source of it, and us realizing that sure, there's outer natural forces, like the world was raising us before we could raise ourselves. Do you know? Sure, there's outer. When you think about life existentially, you actually don't exist. It's like the world is happening and you're just a part of it, and a part of a very deep interconnected natural system. Do you see? But experientially, that is where the concept of the soul can be. And let me tell you why. Because I would say most human beings, they obviously notice existence, and they notice their mind, their personality. So what that means is it's like they realize they're in some there's an unknown viewer of a, or let me say it this way, it's like an unknown viewer is inside an objective, in quotations, Iron Man suit, some sort of suit that is just object oriented. Now this imagine this so imagine Tony Stark, imagine, you know, a person enters this objective suit. Now that objective suit has entered a subjective suit. But what is happening to the materialistic perception of reality that has subjectively locked itself to only duality? What is happening to that is that what thinks that matter is the source is realizing it cannot be. As if an object cannot be the source of the subject. I would say that's kind of like the era we're in right now, right? Like where we can even see it in culture. We're reaching the fringes of the dream that tradition kept under construction. Do you know? In our cultures right now, we are reaching the edges of duality. And what's going to happen is that people are going to freak out, but this is on an inner level, on a psychological level, not in accordance to just the outer realms, but how they see the outer realms. And what's going to happen is that when duality breaks down, this is the end of the linguistic simulation. Which means like some human beings are going to go towards the path of silence and being static. Those are you can call those the singularians. They're going to end up being just energy. They're going to just live as energy. They're beyond the dualistic personality. Do you know? And then, in my vision, and as probably one of the first human beings talking about this in this way, the advanced communicators and the pilots of consciousness are in some sense as if they are like how would I tell you, it's as if the heart of the future returns to guard the brain of the present. Do you see what I mean by that? Is that it's pretty much like a crossroad out of duality, you know, into the singular void or the infinite void. And when I say infinite void, that void is eons beyond. It is not in this. We can probably not conceptualize it. You know, you can sometimes what's his name, Andy Warhol, he says sometimes you got to go at the edge of something and then you see further than you could have seen before, where you were before, right? And it's as if when we go to the edge of duality, that's the further part I'm talking about. Do you know? Because it's like multidimensionality is going to become the norm, right now duality is multidimensional, but it's a limited. That means for how long is this species going to hear good and bad ideas? You know? For how long are we going to be like, I like this, I like that? Do you know? At some point, it's going to just, intelligence is going to override duality. You know? The presence of intelligence, not just energetically. And the advanced communicators and the pilots of consciousness I have envisioned, the pilots of consciousness are here to guide the inner realms of mankind. The advanced communicators are here to resolve the conflicts of the outer realms. And I'm telling you, it's a very strange lifetime. Because it's as if we stepped out of the jungle into the concrete jungle, which is another way of saying we became a cultural entity. And when we became a cultural entity, individualism began becoming specialized. It's as if it's like we started treating ourselves as individuals to the degree that every individual alive right now, you have universal rights, in the Declaration of Human Rights, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So individuality has been pinpointed as the main focus. Now this individual, the concept of individuality, poetically and playfully I say in duality, but it is really that. Because you cannot be an individual unless something separates itself. And the physical body, like right now, my biological physical body, yeah, of course it's separate from this room I'm in, from my house. you know it's like I can walk on the ground, on this planet. But it's as if uh how would I say it? My mind has no choice. It is just being the moment. It's as if duality is a perfect metaphor for the body, and singularity is the perfect metaphor for the mind, because the mind is just being the whole moment. This is why we can't pinpoint it, because it's just instant. It's just instantly being. You know how many people on this planet have been like, where's my mind? you know as if they're looking for keys. The mind is just an opportunity of awakening, just awareness. It's all awareness when you live as a mental being. The body is when you live as a mind, your attention is more to space than what's in it. When you live as a body, your attention is more piloted to just mobility as being what's in space. And I've given honestly enough talks to honestly say that when I give these talks, I notice where my thoughts are outer. I shouldn't say they're outer. It's as if my body's in one room, so in that room my thoughts are just translated as sound. But my mind is in another room, and in that room they're actually events, they're images. I gave a talk, actually, I think, I don't know, now I can say years ago. But it's called the eventum. Just look up that word and you'll find where eventum was a concept I made, so that what do you call it, materialists can grasp psychology. It was pretty much my gift to the secular society. you know where we have the notion of the atom, like the smallest particle, uh, not the smallest, but the smallest particle in regards to what's visible. And at the same time, I thought, okay, so an atom can be broken down into electrons, neutrons, and protons. And then I thought, okay, when you look at the mind, and if somebody was like, okay, what's the smallest unit of the mind, I considered that as an event. And then I realized the word atom has a T and the word event has a T, so suddenly my mind linked the word eventum. you know and eventum is like this. It's like how your mind is actually made up of events, and these events you can see them as negative, positive, neutral, just like in how you see an atom. you know but anyways, I've made actually 4 notes here. 4 notes. And I mean, one of the notes is just the subtitle, but but I want to talk a bit more about the soul of matter. I don't know how many people are actually astonished that there's something here at all, moving. It's just so strange. And even the concept of strange is even strange, how there could even be something strange for existence. As if, what is the additional dimension that's considering something to be strange? So it's just a suggestion that we're multidimensional. So in our multidimensionality, and I don't know if many people know this, but the word soul in certain cultures, in ancient cultures, it's synonymous with the word breath, right? So in yogic culture, you have the concept of prana, and in let's say Sufi culture, you have the concept of ruh. you know That's the, you can say that's the Persian word for soul. So, anyways, the suggestion of it is that it's like you can kind of guess where it came from. Where it's you see back in the day, somebody was alive, and the moment they stopped breathing, it was as if something left their body. They became completely an object, as if there was an ascension of intelligent attention from that material domain. You know, sometimes I've wondered about, okay, how is it going to appear, the physical transition, and I've thought about, okay, there's a way to approach it with expectation, and then there's a way to just watch the unexpected, and I think that is actually the most healthiest approach. It's not skepticism, but it is more like prior to any sort of decision of the attention's commitment to whatever it is perceiving, it is wondering, okay, there's a perceiver here. This perceiver has been unknown. That's the beautiful way I think human life is designed, where you can act in any modality, and at the end of this life, the unknown can't go anywhere. It is there. I find this the most spiritual thing. That means to me, a spiritual person is not someone who's like, okay, I found a way to hold myself, or I'm happy 24/7. No. There is a dimension of wonder which cannot be ignored. And this is really the difference between all those people who are like, I'm creative, and some people are like, I'm not creative. It's like, what does that even mean? It's like we're explorers in a gigantic reality, and it's even multidimensional. And it's like not only our bodies living a life, but your mind is living a life, and you're aware of both of them simultaneously and making decisions this whole time. Do you know? So it's like we have duped ourselves in a very simplistic way, or I should say, it's as if when ignorance fades, the light was always there. That means it's as if the sun doesn't go anywhere. The sun is always beaming. It's as if a good metaphor for truth. And at the same time, it is man who's on a spinning planet, and because it's spinning night, day, do you know? There is this view of like a lot of people talking about, like, I've heard people say flat earth. Like some people talk about it, online. And I was like, if it was flat earth, it would be 24/7 sunlight, you know? you know? Unless you're envisioning like a spinning disc, and then, I don't know, it's like DJs became transcendental. I don't know. DJs had dreams of being astrophysicists, So it is, I think, noteworthy to realize that there is an intelligence here. One attitude is to make it known, and that really means get convinced by your past, or to be in the present and realize it's always an unknown state. I honestly think the state of where you see like great actors, and like I've studied film, and when you look at great moments in film where actors went like next level, it's moments where it's as if they had so entered that character in that moment, in that, let's say, fictional storyline of a film, where the actor, even though something wrong happened, the actor was that archetype in that moment. How would I say it? It's as if you reach a state. It's as if there's a state beyond improv, where improv is the natural state. But let me tell you what I mean. I shouldn't say improv. It's observant, instantaneous activation of memory in accordance to the comfort and the emotional level a person is like. It's as if once you find the right vibe, your mind trusts itself enough to demonstrate its advanced skill. But that advanced skill in the most ultimate, that means the most ultimate level, you might not believe it, it's playfulness. It's playfulness. That means an eternal being has only to play. That's it. No more, survive when you are. Do you see what I'm saying? It's as if, like, because there is something to lose, our whole value system of what should we do in life while we're alive appears, you know. But if the most advanced state was a state that we had surpassed survival, we would just play as if energy had nowhere to go. It's very fascinating. It's another way, what I'm saying, it's like another way of saying our bodies played their part on the unknown stage of reality. Our minds will play their part, and beyond that, the souls will roar, you know. And in the outer realms, when the soul roars, an advanced civilization occurs. In the inner realms, when a soul roars, an ultimate remembrance occurs. That ultimate remembrance is a recognition that before your limitations, there was an awareness there. And you call it limitless, call it God, call it whatever you like, but it's pretty much the inconceivable recognition beyond the language threshold. Beyond how stories hold your life, there is a moment where it can't be anything other than how it is. It's like there's like, think of it this way, there's an okay, let's say somebody films like, you know, they go to the park and film like for an hour, and then at some point in the film they pause. And it's as if there's one frame, even though it's a film, but one frame, it's like you can access a film as a frame, right? So it's as if when it comes to human psychology and even the depths of where meditation leads, it's as if in the film of your life where the story of suffering is active, you come to a snapshot. And in that snapshot, you wonder, the awareness to the instant, like an instant awareness cannot be chained, cannot be, how would I tell you, shackled by memory, because it's instantaneous. This is why in all, you go look up, all those people who think it takes years to get enlightened, it's like, go check the references, go check history. Many sages have said it takes an instant. That means people spending so much, on trying to get enlightened, and then it's as if the actual advice is that it takes an instant. And in an instant, imagine like for a second your whole life paused like a video game, but there was still awareness of the character. And it's as if this character stuck, I shouldn't say stuck, but it's like in one moment, the personality realizes it's the presence, and the presence, it's another way of saying your whole moment of being is like is what is looking at the screen of your conscious mind, which starts subjectively and then mobilizes the objective component. So pretty much I'm saying, like, think of this as the kind of neo-spirituality, where you are neither body, neither mind. You come to the instant moment, and as you are present as being, prior to memory's activation, it becomes automated. What that means is, just think about the organs of the body. All of it, all of the body is pretty much naturally just happening without our instruction. But then the brain needs instruction. Isn't that strange? A lot of our biological existence is automated. It's an involuntary. You don't think about your heart beating. You don't think about your breathing. It's just happening. But when it comes to the brain, it's as if the brain is thinking about, like, do you see what I'm saying? It's as if one organ is acting strange, or is under the command of something beyond the natural rhythms of biology. So it's as if the brain is the glove where the unknown hand is in. I'm telling you, there's something, it's as if, like, sure, you can think as if the soul is in every atom of the body, you could be cool like that, Or you can see that conscious life is how a multidimensional moment is held. Because honestly, like you go listen to lectures online on neurology, you know, uh, and you see that we don't know, like we know the brain, okay, we know what we can see. And sure, they saw that there's like, okay, certain parts of the brain light up in accordance to certain levels of behavior. We are seeing the effects of the brain, okay, but the causal position of the mind is appearing out of, like, thoughts appear out of nowhere sometimes. And I wouldn't say nowhere, to be honest. It's kind of like it lands in your inner realms. Once you can personalize it, you can communicate it, pretty much. That means it's as if in front of your eyes you're like a biological, creature, just like, moving around. But in behind your eyes, you're not even a shape. You're an awareness to events. It's as if you're an invisible cinema audience member behind your eyes. Attributeless, I should say. An attributeless viewer of events. So it's as if there's in the dimensions of the known life, you have your objective life, that's your first life, existentially oriented. Then you have your second life, your mind, subjectively, experientially oriented. As if you're like, where is existence? Okay, I'm experiencing it. Where is the experiencer? There. That's when you reach the edge of your subjective life. You know that you can know that you notice that there is an awareness to subjects before the subject was there. Therefore, you're beyond subjects. So the first life, the objective life; the second life, the subjective life; the third life, the unknown presence of the whole thing. That means some moments of life are so majestic and so beyond that you cannot even give them a concept. That's why I came up with the term the language threshold. I have envisioned things in my inner realms that I could not say. No, I shouldn't say I could not say. There were no words for. Like, I had to create words for it. Do you know what I'm saying? So the mind gives you access to reality that is way beyond what language does. Language is just ink. Do you know? You can hear that statement in many ways, actually. When I say it's ink, as if it's ink on paper, but at the same time, it's like the ink the brain uses to in some sense be its own poetry. Okay, guys, I'm gonna, you know, drink some iced tea. Just read the chat section for like a minute. Put on my glasses. Okay, so in the chat section, welcome, guys. I think there's a question. Mr. Within, your first play was to use that intimidating picture. Nesapa? Maybe you will I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you pinpoint what you're talking about so I can see what it is? But thanks for the comments, guys. Back to the soul of matter. Something is moving. Something is happening. There's levels of intelligence to it. There's levels that we assume it's not intelligent, but because we're intelligent, it's kind of impossible. It's as if a person can't fathom death because they're alive, because even the notion of fathoming is like attributed to life. The mystery still stands, of course. what is moving us. The outer realms, even if we do choose to become materialists, we will never find certainty, because the universe is too big to index to come up with like static views. That means the world is designed in a way where, because it's changing, it's like, what material truth, you know? It's like, what is true now maybe not true in a billion years. So it's like truth momentarily, or to the time that there's the attention is there. In Vedic thought, gods are dreaming life. So pretty much 3 days of, I don't know who it was, I think it was Brahman. 3 days of this god Brahman dreaming is like 54 million years of like what appears to human life, you know. So if God wakes up, it's as if like suddenly everybody in the Abrahamic traditions, like, we told you there's going to be an apocalypse, you know. And in the Vedic tradition, they're like, yo, man, we were God's dream this whole time, you know. But beyond the dreams of gods, you know, I guess here I'll go to the second point. I've written building two advanced civilizations at the same time, and then a sub-point, inner and outer origins of, what did I write? Realities. So yeah, I think that in regards to the inner and outer, I've explained that, there's an inner life, there's an outer life. Your inner life is in the domain of your consciousness, or in the dimension of your consciousness, and as you make decisions, behind your eyes, decisions are just instant acceptances of ways that things are being, do you know? So it's as if in your inner life, it's just like your attention's deciding. In your outer life, it's like the effect of that attention. So in your outer life, it's also like you can't ignore how your physical dimension has its own cause and effect, your physical position. In regards to building two advanced civilizations, actually, before starting this talk, I was in my balcony and I found this orange glow between my fingers, and as I stared outside of my balcony, and I was just looking at people walking, like regular people walking in the street, and for a moment I was like, where can this go? Where can this go? Because our strategy as individuals is to just work on yourself, right? But there is no collective ethos, or there is no great collective story where the human being, upon reaching, let's say, a satisfaction of its individualism, begins to see like, okay, my species is here. What will my species do? I'm alive now. Do you know? It's as if when you go back in history, human beings were killing each other, and then when you go forward in history, the only thing they can do is to build an advanced civilization in the outer realms. There's nothing else. I am telling you, it's either just you play as nature, or you build consciously. We use the advantage of our attention as human beings and direct this energy towards a collective emergence of a great backup system. You see, what is appealing, I would say, about the advanced civilization is that every human being as an individual right now has blind spots. The advanced civilization is there to advance in a way where the blind spots are preserved. So that means your blind spots are reduced. That means one person's failure doesn't lead to the failure of everybody. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there is a greater vision this whole time, and because of how we have been conditioned to think of ourselves as so small, it's as if it's bizarre to dream big, or to envision something bigger than what's happening now. And I feel that's really why the mind is here. The mind is kind of like using light to discover new ways that what was received by the sensory perception can be constructed or composed. And a lot of life is really a reactive relationship. So what I mean by that is like like some people, I don't know, when they think about their life, of course, you know, from a secular standpoint, we're like, okay, that person's thoughts are like limited to their memories, you know. But but if you were to think about what has not happened yet, there is such space for novelty to enter. It's as if every human being's mind should attempt wondering at what an advanced civilization would look like and try to at least live in that. You see, because we have a choice. It's like attitude is a choice. I think everybody realizes this. You know, some things in life are, of course, they're not your choice where you exist or, you know, in what form your existence is in. These are kind of like the cards nature dealt you. But it's as if how you play those cards is where attitude comes in, right? And I'm this guy saying attitude has been just stuck in history being dualistic. Wonder about what would go beyond duality. And you can sometimes start at duality, right? To me, when I think about the future, I start from what I see now. For example, I'm seeing a table right here. In my inner realms, I'm like, okay, this table is just gonna be like a flying, just a hover table. Like it's not gonna have, you could just move it anywhere and it's just gonna remain in the air. Do you see what I'm saying? You're like, oh man. When I think about the human being, what's gonna happen? You think about it, it's like its biology is going to be maxed out. That means right now we're in an era where people maybe, we may think that in modern countries there isn't malnutrition, but I feel it's like there is malnutrition because we don't know enough about nutrition or how much more we can know about it. Do you know? That means there's yogis in India like consuming sunlight through sun gazing. I mean, come on, there's like things we haven't, you know, thought about. You know, you know, it's as if somebody's like, "Hey, yogi, you know, hey, sun gazer, you know, it's like I made lunch. You want some?" It's like, "Nah, man, I've already stared at the sun for 30 minutes." So, in your inner realm, you have a capacity to see the outer realms advance. Every human being, I feel it's a playful thing. Think of it as if you got so many assignments when you were in school. Now, this random YouTuber is saying, hey, what if? You know, what if you wondered about the advancement of things, not like just like it's not like just like a step ahead or a couple steps ahead. It's as far as your mind can go. That is where creativity and novelty is. Novelty is when you have reached the edge of your practice, when you have seen what was there before and only what hasn't been seen yet is left. Do you see? That's when, you know, the spirit of the uh, 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 explorer transcendentally flows. We are all poets in the void, really, because if it's beyond language, it's like everything's poetry, you know. Matter, sure, matter, we could be serious about how language pinpoints to matter, you know. But if there's a small percentage that we are multidimensional beings this whole time, and we are not just the object in the space. Our mind is the whole space where the object is in. I mean, think about it. Your body is in your mind. Your I should say it this way. Your mind, if you associate it to the brain, is in your body. You know, and your body is in your awareness, which we call that mind. So it's as if your mind is holding your body, projecting your body at the same time as your body is projecting your mind. As if two projections in two dimensions, one subtle, one gross, let's say, and it's as if there's an intersection between levels of expressionism. The strategy I have found, and I'll rephrase this or say it as I've said in other episodes. In front of your eyes, we can just build something great. That will be the greatest joy. of the species. I'm telling you, there is a joy to building and creating something new that only mothers and inventors have experienced. It's as if it's like it's like when you create something, you know, it's as if it is an extension of your energy. Do you know? And think of as if a species, that means think as if our great 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 grandkids in the future, great, like to the power of, a very long time, not just great squared, but our great great grandkids, thousands of years from now, look back and they're like, wow, they were trapped in the fog of duality, which led to war. But somehow, these creatures on a rock in the middle of nowhere prioritized the ability to understand, which is itself an intelligent activity, to such a degree that violence didn't make sense. When we have such an intelligence here, isn't it strange? We have minds, yet the body is playing, just associating as if it's the player in the game. It's as if your mind is also, and not just the player, but also the field it's happening in. Understanding is the greatest joy. I would say it's the greatest luxury. That means think as if, you're a trillionaire, like a, like you are like those the elitist, and to such a degree you have fit like such wealth that you feel like a, I know, physically you feel like a god or something. Do you know? Do you know? You have amounted so much, like let's say wealth, like Elon Musk, Bill Gates level, right? And then you're like, okay, but what do I do? And I find Elon Musk has found his answer. And of course, I don't know, maybe even Bill Gates has a hidden vision of a greater humanity rather than one that destroys itself before it truly sees what it is. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying that once you reach the peak of a physical, you reach the edge of physical activity, then the mind is left. There's so many children in countries, developing countries, where these children are in poverty and they're just trapped in the games of the outer realms. Now imagine that child escaping that country struck with poverty, coming into the world and realizing there's a whole complete psychological level to survival, which has to do with how much your energy brought forth novelty before it left the room of just being. Do you know? It's as if you're trying to live a life that one lifetime was enough. Do you know? It's like some beings, some, let's say there was a Buddhist, an uncommon Buddhist, and all the common Buddhists are like, hey man, what's your view on like reincarnation? The person's like, those people who reincarnate, it's as if they didn't get it right in the first try. Do you see what I'm saying? It's as if like you live in a way where it's as if you were never here because you were everywhere. I think that is the advancement of just where the minds of individuals may head in the future. Right now we're in space. In the future we might be space, like consciously. Do you know? That means it's as if just like how I move my hand, and my hand's just linked to my biological body and my brain and my heart and lungs. But in the future, let's say the space, the mind becomes so advanced, or its presence becomes so dense, so dense or intense, that it becomes a point where anything in your moment of awareness can move. That means just like I raise my hand instantly right now, I'm looking at that cup on my table, and I imagine those in the future can instantly move that cup if they were in the similar situation. Right? So it's as if like the body pulled the mind, and then the body reached a point where the mind had to pull it. Do you know? And in the middle of, like, let's say the body being the soldiers, the mind being the commanding officer, both await what? The general, the soul. The soul is like, you can say it's the origin of your attention, which if you notice it and notice how it's being before you do anything, there is bliss. You what's the term? It's called Satchidananda. When you realize conscious existence is bliss, as if existence and consciousness are simultaneously being, so what's suffering? If every human being realize that they don't truly know who they are, they will find a moment where they can surpass any conditioning. The unknown is the freedom for the mind. Just like our biological body needs to be certain or have a sort of sense of, hanging on to the moment, right? But the mind is when it realizes it's like its hands were never here, like its attention is unknown. Then novelty pours through the being. I'm telling you, it's like what we think is creativity is actually a valve, and this valve opens when you start having a relationship with the unknown. That is just through realizing its being. So prior to Mr. Within, to Amin, to a human being on a rock in the middle of nowhere, unknown is being. Instant recovery from all sorts of analysis. To realize it's unknown first before known, it just frees you from all the expectations that knowledge makes you have on the world. It also activates new ways where, I mean, sure, like there's some people who, I mean, Carl Jung saw the persona as a mask, right? But if it's a mask, it's not you. So the mask, you can reach a state of mind where you take off the mask, you notice the unknown being present, and then the attention reanimates, or based on a selection process of how you choose, you manifest. What I know deep down is that if our species starts living as if an advanced civilization is already here in our inner realms, it would be a way where it's as if our value system would be. I mean, think of it this way: if your internal value, if your value system for your psychology is based on your body, in, like, right now it's 2022. If right now I identify as just a person in 2022, okay, this identification will just limit me to how I have accepted meaning now, in accordance to my outer realms. But if I close my eyes and for a moment I wonder about the evolution of freedom and how there are dimensions to it beyond psychology, when I even wonder about what is the most advanced state, like if I was living in an advanced civilization, what would I be? And I would probably be space that instantly can activate anywhere. So right now we're like a body that has a space, but in the future you could be anybody. And I shouldn't say it that way. I should say you're a field of intelligent activity can animate anywhere in it, you know. Because even if somebody's like, okay, I'm free now, but how does freedom advance? It's just beyond the boundaries. It's beyond memories. That means you're either, I shouldn't say chained, but you're either defined by your memories, by your past memories, or the new ones you create. Or if you find a moment of stillness and silence and no movement, and you're just like, okay, I'm just being here. It's as if then, for an instant, you can breathe beyond image. To me, honestly, it's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe some people could say, okay, Mr. Within, you're being sensitive. But every night I sleep, it's as if it's a vanishing. It's a process of vanishing. And we are here afraid of death as human beings. Every night we go to sleep and we vanish, you know, and then we're like, oh my God, you know, it's like death is coming. What do we do? You know, it's like, is there going to be, you know, a divine hand, you know, or it's as if like, okay, will hopefully aliens arrive? Like, what will happen, you know? But every night we enter the void as if no problem. It's just natural. So you can say death is unnatural vanishing. Sleep is natural vanishing. Oh man. Of course, guys, these are very heavy topics, you know. This is why I navigate into being a bit playful about them. You know, because we are like this energy in a sort of form, and then this form can be directed. So it's just like common sense that if there's 8 billion creatures on a rock in the middle of nowhere, they do something, you know. You know, imagine a person's like, you know, okay, hypothetical sci-fi situation, okay? So imagine, you know, this shaman, you know, suddenly contacted like these advanced extraterrestrials, okay? And then the shaman's like, yo, what do we do? How do we get out of this, you know, 2000, you know, let's say 24 kind of reality or something, do you know? And the alien was like, listen, you know, you guys are, you know, the alien would pretty much be like, okay, it's so easy to figure out that we don't even need to give you the answer. It's as if it's just about management of where life force goes. That is the survival of our species. That means once the individual survival is satisfied, you know, and we go towards the collective survival. It's another way where I believe, like, I guess this is a good way. In other talks I've talked about the Bodhisattva archetype and the Buddhic archetype. The Buddha is the one who got out of the individual hell, okay, and they accessed an individual heaven. That's the Buddha, I would say. And then you look at the Bodhisattva, and the Bodhisattva is after the Buddha surpassed the individual hell and got to the individual heaven, it noticed the collective hell. And the Bodhisattva is like the enlightened, you can say, archetype, where just the notion attached to the idea of the Bodhisattva is that it will manifest, like these divine deities in Buddhism, they will manifest, you know, until the whole species has elevated. That means until the collective heaven is found, like from a Buddhic perspective, advanced souls will they will return until truth remembers itself beyond any sort of border. Right? It's not that we should all become, like, I'm not saying we should create a civilization of clones where everybody's like, yay, we're all the same thing, so now we agree. No. It's as if advancing, going to the edges of our uniqueness, and then realizing all of this can become puzzle pieces if the correct vision is there, you know? So that means it's as if right now, all human beings alive, if you're a spiritual person or think you're a healer or something, this is what needs healing. You know, this is the thing. Not just like, moving sage around in your room, but to realize that your species is at the edge, or how would I say it? It's at the turning point, right? Individuals, let's say a percentage of individuals on the planet, they experienced the inner heaven, okay, the individual heaven. But now the collective heaven awaits. And this is another way of saying that instead of wanting to go to paradise, if you're a religious person hearing me, it's as if it's to build paradise on earth, or to realize that before God created the earth, the heavens were here. You know, that's the whole point. Sometimes, from a theological perspective, it's as if where was earth made if it was only the heavens where everything was? Do you see what I'm saying? It's a projection. The illusion is a projection of truth. Therefore, it cannot be. At its core, it is not an illusion. Causally, it's not an illusion. When you look at the effect, you're like, look at this illusion. Look at this samsara. You know. There's two more points, guys, and I'm going to have a quick intermission, probably 5 minutes. You know, so during that intermission, people can share their questions, or if they want, if they notice points I've mentioned that could go further, even, you know, feel free to comment. At the same time, also, if you've listened for, what is it? It's been an hour, so even the viewers can go on intermission. I'll be back in 5 minutes, guys. And those leaving, thanks for listening so far. Okay. All right. So, to continue, and excuse the intermission, it went over 5 minutes. But, you know, I have made these points here on the piece of paper I have in front of me. There's these. I said there's 2 points left before the intermission, but I've kind of pointed to them already. One of them I've written roars of the most advanced moments, and then dreams under construction. And I think I can talk about both of them in a certain way. So, the outer life of the human being, build an advanced civilization. The inner life of the human being, advanced communication. Now, both of them are codependent, and changes in one can change the other. That means 8 billion people on the planet, sure, they could all, let's say, in their inner realms be like, all right, we're all living in an advanced civilization, but the outer realms will not be there, right? And in the let's say we build an advanced civilization in the outer realms, and in the inner realms, people are like, oh man, this isn't advanced. Do you see? So it's as if there needs to be a rhythm of both of them. You know, they need to be in harmony. In regards to the outer life, I would say design. I don't know what it is that I feel there is so many inventions in the void that could just be pulled out. And if every human being, considering that they're each like a unique antenna, they have a unique reception of the world. That means no one on this planet has your eyes. That means if everybody, everybody can be a great writer if they have confidence in their own eyes, really. Because we even though we may look at the same thing, we don't receive it in the same way. It doesn't have the same meaning, right? And when you look at what's the most recent, how would I say it? Sorry, guys, I was just changing the music. I have headphones on. Pretty much, there's an ability to communicate. Communication is sharing each other's inner realms. So it's as if there's one outer existential if there's one existential outer realm, and then 8 billion plus experiential inner realms, and these inner realms can each has a unique view. It's as if the only thing left is to connect them, is to create a sort of whirlwind or tornado of some kind where all the ideas and imagery in the inner realms are shared. That means imagine the whole species in the future. It's as if going into this would be one of the roars of the souls of the species, roars of the soul of the species. You know, the spirit that moves all of us. It's as if it would be as if to build all the ideas in the inner realms that only, let's say, you as an individual have access to, they begin being shared. The whole species goes on this giant research project in trying to find the most efficient way of doing everything. And in that efficiency, we will realize, because human beings are not perfect, there has to be tolerance and patience. That means with a multidimensional worldview and being also patient in observing from an unknown state, then we can completely build and march through the known in what you would say a successful way, you know. So our inner lives need to start influencing the outer lives. We create this great archive. I've envisioned it, talked about it in some of the talks, that there should be this library. Hopefully, if I have enough channel members, there should be this library of human names and the human life and the productions and the dances of the mind, the melodies of the mind and the hidden dimensions of the mind require to be shared. So that means it's as if, like in a healthy system, what is it? The process is as if, so let's say in a view of a workable, I'm not saying advanced to this yet, but I'll say like to a workable civilization, it's as if certain members have to have the creative role. They're just creating. Do you see? Certain members, they destroy. They're just destroying. And certain members, in some sense, maintaining. Now, creation, destruction, maintenance, these can be, of course, you can see them in different ways. But pretty much every system has components to that. It's as if we eat food and the food is maintained in the body and then it exits. State of construction, it's like new entrance into the system. What has newly entered the system gets maintained and integrates with the whole system, and then what is unnecessary out of, let's say, the new integrated system ejects and leaves. So what it is rather than saying the world needs good and evil people to be like a world, or a civilization needs chaos and order, it would be another way of saying we need we need a cleanup crew, and then I shouldn't say cleanup crew. I should say more like as if certain human beings, hopefully for the calling of Civilization 2.0, as I've envisioned, will be born to, in some sense, handle the inefficiencies of life. And then some people will be born to handle the efficiencies, to think about their design. Because it's a giant design project when you want to build an advanced civilization, and it's so vast and magnificent that it's as if not only do 8 billion human beings need to trust each other in the glory and the honor of how great the future can be. Not only we need a sort of the futures, the greatness of the future needs to have a gravitational pull for 8 billion creatures who are alive now, but at the same time, upon the emotional levels, that means the species reached a point where we weren't destroying one another, but we were like, okay, we trust being human. It's like whatever we're doing as creatures on this rock, right? We trust this system, and now, once the human being, I shouldn't say trust the system, but once we trust each other, once life trusts life, pretty much, the natural begins restoring its honor for how it is, then it's as if there would be a lot of ideological judgment goes away. For me, I think I don't know if I, the global spotlight will land on this idea I'm saying. I hope it does. Do you know? But to me, one of the I think one of like, some people are gonna be like Mr. Within. It's like, relax with the time traveler's ego. But I'll tell you, I don't know, something in my mind that I have noticed and discovered. Do you know? I would tell you that I felt it was like Nobel Prize worthy if implemented, right? And what it is that I noticed all of human behavior, if we use the inner realm, outer realm, the judgments on what is the norm or what is off the norm, sanity and insanity go away. You see, it's as if we have set a story, a certain story in the outer realms, out of all the different stories that exist in people's minds, right? So the outer realms, it's as if like, it's like Hunger Games, but for ideological systems. So in regards to the outer realms, oh man, where was I going with this? For a second, my attention just went to something. Oh yeah, the song stopped. Oh man, just hang on, guys. I gotta loop the song on YouTube so I can not get interrupted by silence. Pretty much in the outer realms, this distinction between the inner realms, outer realms thing, any person has this. Any parent on this planet teaches this to their child and has this relationship. That child will just like Neo in the Matrix, dodge a lot of bullets of psychological programming that the environment sometimes throws at you. Do you know? To be able to notice, do you know, what is an event in the domain of the mind and what is an event in the actual reality? This is where the whole issue, the solution to sanity is. Do you know? It's as if we're multidimensional, but when we come to judge ourselves, we think we're just this one person, not realizing it's like hidden dimensions and unhidden dimensions to intelligence are like two dragons, like black and white, spiraling around each other, going towards the edge of the sky. Do you know? So human beings, they can establish what is in the inner realms and the outer realms, meaning and truth. I find they have inner realm. There's a certain inner realm component that means it's like the search for meaning is pretty much the search for the source of mind. If somebody wonders, okay, what does this microphone in front of me mean? What does that cup mean? It's how the mind responds to the image instantly, where the meaning is there, right? So meaning is an inner activity, but seeing things like seeing a microphone, you can say that's an outer activity, but its meaning is inner. So this distinction of meaning is an inner phenomenon means that if the outer realms is a public existential server, and every person's inner realm is their own private server, right? It means on a conceptual level, the inner realms can be as valid as the outer realms because there's content. Like right now, I'm seeing this microphone. I'm like right now, I close my eyes, and in my inner realms, I'm still seeing that microphone, but there's no light going in my eyes. Somehow, it's like with eyes closed, we see. Right? And to be able to discriminate between that which we see, and that's really the meaning. It's like lights hitting an object, entering our eyes, and then that light, humorously reflects off the brain, and then the subjective inner realm reality is kind of there, Pretty much, first thing I'm saying is we got to manage our inner lives and our outer lives. If a person makes their inner life only dependent on their outer life, they need permission from outside of themselves to be free. All those people seeking gurus, seeking salvation out in front of your eyes, you will fall into this category. That means you need the permission from the miracles in the outer realm. That means it's as if before your inner realm realizes it is its own projector, it's as if like you're waiting for the outer realms, as if matter is dictating your subjective flow behind your eyes, right? But once you come and notice that you're a presence before you're a personality, and the personality is a part of the moment, it is not the whole moment, then you begin to establish any person who established into their presence, you're pretty much accessing the mind, its most advanced state. The most advanced state of the mind is not embodiment, which we think that in the outer realms. It is awareness of all bodies simultaneously. That means it's as if a person's like, again, I'll take it back to this is a good civilization. In the future, is there going to be a good civilization or a bad one? It's as if neither. That's the answer that our species found in the void before chaos and order danced. You see, there's a superiority to emptiness. People fear emptiness, right? And of course, existentially, I'm not saying the fear is not there. It's like there's days where I sometimes wonder about life and its speed, and it's as if like, okay, where will the attention pilot on? But at the same time, there's nothing to fear about emptiness, because space was never a thing to break. So once there is at least some moment in this lifetime where consciousness recognizes it's not like a soul in a body, it is the whole moment where everything is being, right? That freedom goes beyond any spiritual narrative. Then you realize any act of personality is just play. I am telling you, in the outer realms, this is why you look at the karma of human beings, and the playful have the best karma. The playful are the luckiest. But those people who are super serious and they're like, oh my God, if this doesn't happen, I'm gonna, go on some sort of, madness run. It's as if when the moment you become serious, it's because an ideological system got linked to the outer realms, and now the freedom to change is not there. Something where I've had moments where I've thought, okay, let's entertain a multidimensional perspective, and let's say, all right, Mr.Within, you came and talked about an advanced civilization. What if the hearts could not access what entered the ears? And I've had thoughts of like, okay, inefficient results of my lifetime. And honestly, I know that whatever happens, in the future, there will be so many human beings born, I may be, an early bird, but I'll tell you that, an early pilot, but I'll tell you, so many pilots will arrive, so many pilots will arrive. The most magnificent, I would say, events in the in humanity's psyche, in the psyche of the species, they're yet to come. It's as if we haven't realized how incredibly, consciousness will dance here. Like what it will do. You see, because we're experiencing reality at a certain intensity. It's like, imagine, imagine in like some sci-fi narrative, some person, their future self came back, and the person's like, oh my God, my future self, are you trying to prevent something in the future? And the future self is like, no, I was bored, so I came to, hang out with my past self. Okay, this is a hypothetical sci-fi view, okay? And then uh, the bored future self comes to the past and says, "Hey, you want to see how the future looks like?" And the self in the past is like, "For sure, I want to see it," you know. And so, let's say the past self says, "Okay, future self, if I see the future, does that mean you're not gonna exist?" And the future self is like, "No, there's like so many timelines. Like, don't worry about it." You know. And so let's say the future self takes its past self into the future, and it's in the future of the human species at a point where there's like, let's say, there's flying cars, and at the same time, I've envisioned that we're gonna all have jetpacks in the future. It's honestly like the solution to the all human health problems, and an incredible, like, like it's such an incredible thing that if you can fly, to me, flying in space, it's like that's like what space is made for, not just walking in space. Like, you kidding me? You know. So imagine the future self in this narrative, you know, that I am projecting. The past self goes into the future, sees that everybody has jetpacks that are not, let's say, based on fire. They're based on sound waves or something, so it doesn't burn your feet, you know. And there's like, I don't know, a spherical force field protector in case if the person falls, you know. And so, anyways, let's say you see people in some sense jetpacking everywhere out of their windows. There's like people stopped using doors anymore. You know, it's like windows became the new doors, and people would just fly out of, you know, their balcony to work. You know. Okay, and at the same time, let's say we have cars, and at the moment cars begin flying, or there's any sort of flying instrument, we begin getting comfortable with a new pace of speed. Do you know? So it's as if that past self wearing the jetpack, do you know, driving a fast hover car, or, you know, flying car or whatever, do you know? And then coming back, and the future self's like, "All right, you got to go back now. You know, I got work to do." You know, and the past self is like, "Oh, I wanted to see how everything ends." You know. You know, and the future self says to the past self, "No, go back." So the past self goes back and now has had a glimpse of the future. The mind gives us this. I'm not saying we're time travelers, but the mind gives us an ability to see something move before it does. And that's pretty futuristic, you know. People don't realize, people think science fiction is entertainment. You kidding me? Science fiction is like the future waiting to be built. So So that person comes back, let's say from, I don't know, the year, let's say 2052 comes back to 2022. And in 2022, the person's like, "Oh my God, you know, we're going to have flying cars. We're going to have, let's say, jetpacks, or people are going to, everything's going to be floating instead of gravity being, you know, our master." Oh man, what can I say? So the future can be animated in so many ways. In your inner realms, you can access this. Something which I wouldn't consider it as a meditation, or if it was a meditation, I would say a concentration meditation. But what it is that I have moments where, when my biological body is like, you know, its energy levels have shifted, you know, I just for a second just close my eyes and try to lie down horizontally on something so there is less gravity. And then I just close my eyes and I start living a percentage, tiny percentage of the day in my mind. And I'm telling you, if you become conscious of your inner realms, you'll be fascinated what kind of advanced technology the human being has access to. It's advanced not in the way of, you know, not in a way you can value, more in an explorer's view. You know, it's as if in your inner life can scout and attempt to live the outer life before you move in the outer life. If you close your eyes and you start living that inner life, let's say let's say somebody wanted to cook pasta, okay, And so they lied down, on the bed, closed their eyes, and in their mind, they saw themselves literally getting up, going and getting all the stuff for the pasta, and in their mind making pasta, and they would suddenly realize that they're in their bed, but their mind had an ability to create a relationship with the world, right? And once you get to know your inner space, you find the treasures of your own art. You find the abilities that you have, you know. I'm just saying that there is there is something we have not looked at, which is the greatest thing ever. And it is how intelligence knows instantly to do anything if it chooses to do something. That's the power of attention. That means even if there were, let's say hypothetically, extraterrestrials like looking at human beings, it's like, what are these creatures? What are they doing? I'm pretty sure a lot of extraterrestrials would at first be like, okay, these human beings are so unevolved in regards to a galactic comparison, that they are still like they have boxes of language over their head and they're just hitting one another. Do you know? But if we reach a point where the boxes are taken off and then we realize there's a multiplicity, there's an ability that the moment you feel a different archetypal persona animates. This is true for everybody. It's not like a person's just one thing again. It's like you feel happy. It's as if you pay attention closely, previous memories echo. Anytime a human being in the outer realms is incapable of doing something, it doesn't mean in the inner realms they haven't done it. I'll give you an example. Imagine a child and you tell the child, don't press this button, and why does the child press it? Because in the outer life, sure, the child understood, the child's not pressing the button, but in its inner life, it has the freedom and it has already pressed the button. So in the outer realm, it happens. This is why it's like when you tell someone not to do something, you're actually telling them what to do. Do you know? Which is, I shouldn't say you're telling them what to do. You're putting the idea of the doing there. And so, in the space-time continuum, a species at the edge of time roars. At the edge of change roars. I honestly, right now, if I was to say how an advanced civilization would happen, it would be like, it would be like one wolf started to howl, at the moon, at the future, and all the wolves began howling, or it's as if one lion began roaring and all the lions began roaring, And so that roar is actually freedom, but a freedom of an inner permission to not be identified, but realize you're the one identifying. You see? It's like our species is going to a point where we have to make it clear that there are physical materialistic dimensions and there are objective dimensions and there are immaterialistic subjective dimensions, and you can live a life in a subjective dimension, and cyberspace will be the fruition of an artificial paradise. I don't doubt that. It makes sense. It's as if something artificial we made, what is the purpose of the artificial? To be natural. Because they have the dichotomy of not being natural in the first place. This is why, like, in how many movies do you see robots trying to be human? There's a technological dimension which I feel certain pilots will arrive for. Certain human beings have already they're on site. Their life is pretty much the bringing about of the technological dimension. There's some beings who are trying to preserve the natural dimension from the collision of the technological. And when I say collision, what do I mean? I mean the human attention is a certain range in the outer realms, and what's it going to be occupied by? Right now, it's as if you go back in the past, you see like people weren't engaging with technology. They were just naturally living in the environment, right? But now we have like this whole technological dimension. And why is the technological dimension appealing? Because it activates the mind in ways where we have not learned yet in the outer realms. So if theoretically, right now, me giving a live stream, and like, what is it? 8 people listening, It says here 73 playbacks, which makes me happy. But right now there's eight, eight viewers. So 8 different minds are hearing my voice. So technology is literally a collective relationship. The appeal of technology is that man does not just exist to his local environment in the outer realms, does not just exist alone as a viewer in the inner realms, but actually through the combination of the inner and outer finds himself on a stage where various unknown eyes, are staring at what appears in cyberspace. That means I feel like if, I don't know if I'm gonna, imagine they give medals in the future, like in 100 years, let's say cyberspace technology becomes next level, like in 100, 200 years, and then they have medals of like, though, or I shouldn't say 200 years because lifespan is short, but human lifespan. But I'll say it like this way, where imagine like in the future they have medals for those who pioneered cyberspace. All those people who were like, okay, a dimension, a technological dimension, a vacuum has opened, and it's as if all what we require to do is input, right? It's as if we are designing another world. It's as if it's hilarious. There was a physical world, okay? Then we created a language world, Now we're creating a technological world. Do you know? It's as if there's so many worlds we're in, even in the outer realms. Do you know? That means it's like linguistically, it's like existentially, materialistically, linguistically, and let's say technologically or through cyberspace. Technology, of course, it's not for, I'm not going to say like it's something everybody has to contribute to, but it is something that's going to influence all of our grandkids, all like the children of the future. They're going to be like, oh, a cyberspace world. It's like literally like children in the future, it's going to be like they're going to go shopping and they're like, oh, there's a natural life I could go live, and then there's like an artificial paradise I could go, visually, psychologically dance through cyberspace connection somehow. Do you know? Whether I personally feel like no technology should enter the brain, right? I personally believe this shouldn't happen, right? Because I feel there is a way we have not discovered, which could be through just waves. That means instead of like you plug a cord to somebody's brain, you plug a USB cord, to somebody's brain. Instead of having a technological connection with the brain, you have the person sit on a chair with like these, I don't know, four kind of like antennas of some kind, and these antennas generate enough of like somehow, I don't know, maybe the future has answers, where the person doesn't need to connect anything. The moment they go in that range of like those signals, they're existing in cyberspace. Do you know? Because then to take someone out of cyberspace is not like disconnecting a cord from their brain or disconnecting a chip or something from their brain. It is just pushing them from where they have stood. Do you see? It's like the most natural preserving mode, But the thing is, at least I wrote about this in my science fiction, where I had this vision where cyberspace can get so advanced and appealing that in the future, the wealthiest people on the planet, they might get bored, or let's say those with the most resources on the planet, they're gonna get bored. And they're gonna be like, okay, why should I just live as a temporary human body when in cyberspace I can act as a god? Do you see? So it's like we haven't seen it yet, but there's gonna be a huge conversion into cyberspace the moment we feel if the way society is going, if we are so unsatisfied with being simple natural beings, pretty much it's like if we can't maintain how to simply be natural, there will be an unnatural transition. And that unnatural transition would be a strange way of saying a sort of Inception movie scene. It's like not just getting lost in a dream, but a dream inside a dream, right? That means there's going to be more, in quotation, spiritual work. The kid's like, you kidding me? I got to wake up from cyberspace, then I got to wake up from language, then I got to wake up from, a matter, then I got to realize that that which is awake is never was asleep, and then it's as if no more conceptual storification of life, you can pretty much be, let's say it this way: if we were to create a spectrum for intelligence, we would say the simplest way it is being and the most complex thing it's doing. And the most complex thing it's doing is really how the lightning strikes behind the brain, how much those amp up, like how far things change, like the speed of change increases, or in some sense, in the most simplest view, nothing changed. You know? And to me, like, look at what's happening in culture, like I would say in global culture. Identities are coming in the spotlight. It's like we're living in a very unique historic time, where the standard of living is so high that human beings can, in some sense, go out in the streets and in some sense demand for a different psychological acknowledgement of their own self. What does that mean? That means we're slowly reaching a point where we are losing the connection, the honest, direct connection of mind with subjects and the body. Do you see? It's as if, like, in the future, people may not even be human, even though they biologically are, right? You ask someone, "Are you a human?" It's like, "No, man, I'm like a alien from outer space." It's like, that's not a human. This person identifies as an alien. Now imagine in the future you have collective minds appearing, right? So it would be like a family of bodies and with having one mind, which would mean like as if minds have plugged into the same server, in a manner of speech. So when that happens and you ask that person, "What are you?" and it's as if that person is not one person. That person is a field that is being at the same time multiple bodies. So there would be no identity. This is really because language has a sort of hollowness, even though it does help to accurately link it to matter, right? But language has a hollowness where in that hollowness there is an experiential entity. That experiential entity is at first subjectively bound, but going beyond the subjective boundaries, it is its own freedom by the mere movement. That means it's like we are going from delayed ignorance to instant freedom. From delayed enslavement to, like, or I shouldn't say from a delay in being limited, we're going to the instantly limitless. Because that, and only in an instant, there is no limitations. It's like it doesn't get more non-dual than that. I feel that because we have mouths, because we can speak, because every person's eyes has their own unique voice. They say this for writers. Writing to me is a very I have a divine relationship with writing, and I would say it's as if there's every person has a voice that has never been heard before. And if you are honest, that voice will bring out, the inner library. That voice will reveal its worlds to the world. It's like my heart beats right now, and the heart of the species beats right now. And beyond that, if we were to even wonder about the edge of evolution, it would be contentment with all. It would be as if you have moved beyond living even as space. You know what it is? It's kind of like this might be a very strange thing to say, but if reality was a simulation, what is simulating it is a moment that has never changed. The changeless is simulating eternal change. Because I don't know, I mean, I personally feel many people have experienced this, you know, but I was at like a gas station, and for a second I was staring at, the sign of the gas station where it has the numbers on it, and I was staring even a bit beyond that. And for a moment I felt, if I don't know what is looking out through my eyes, how can I have a definition of it in time? Do you see? It's like, it's one of the privileges of life to realize that your unknown eyes can't be linked to a narrative. That is the rawness of experience. That's where I shouldn't say divinity's hiding, but that's where divinity's waiting. Okay, guys, my attention went to the chat section, and I'm hearing chaotic ideas. Here's the thing, I'll tell you. Don't even consider an advanced civilization until you understand cruelty and inefficiency is stupid. It's unnecessary. Until you realize that it's as if we were truly a smart species, we would find a way rather than bringing it down. Rather than it's as if rather than constructing a new system, we were like, it's easier to destroy it all. It's like, no, it is true. It takes a long time to build, a house with cards, and then it's like one wind and it all breaks down, right? But the opportunity to see if there is a way, at least if you can't see something in the outer realms advancing, in your inner realms scope it, in the inner realms, scan for it, look for it. Do you know? And if you find it in the inner realms, you'll see that there is untapped views of your own intelligence. There's ways your eyes can see this moment that you have not seen yet. You don't know yet. Take that in. Your eyes are like a kung fu master from those movies that has a hidden technique. I'm telling you, it's the weak break. That sentence could be heard in two ways. They break things, and they also get broken. But those who are like, okay, I'm this, okay, for a limited time, I'm this biological creature that took it 4.5 billion years. 4.5 billion years, to get this advanced, to be able to even suffer. Like, take that in, right? It took us such a long time for the brain to evolve through evolutionary biology from that perspective to a degree where we were like, oh, I don't like this. Oh, I like this. Do you know, that was like a long time in the making. Do you know? It's too easy to go to nothing. I'm telling you, it's too easy to say that we were defeated as a species. It's too easy. I mean, it's like literally like there's no creative element there, you know. What I have realized, and I will tell this to those who are intellectually keen. First of all, our eyes surf the wind differently, everybody's eyes. But what I have realized is that when life goes beyond conceptual certainty, you know, beyond conceptual certainty, it's just experiential quality. That means all our intellectual hatred, ignited perspective, hatred for something, ignited perspectives, you know, they will, it's like the moment we realize that an advanced civilization would be advanced from the beginning, that means it would be free from the beginning. That means the freest, when I say free, I'm not talking about the outer worlds, I'm saying internally free. Those are the pioneers of the advanced civilization. Those become pilots, you know? Duality gets boring. For how long? Light and darkness fighting, you know? For how long? You know, it's like, what is this game? During this, it's the poet Rumi says this, has this quote where I think if people really understand this quote, the concept of good, bad, God, you know, the fallen angels and all of this, like that goes away. Do you know, the moment you realize, this is the Rumi quote, he says, just like a bird needs two wings to fly, the mind needs chaos in order to function. It doesn't mean one wing, the bird can only fly by thinking one wing is true, you know, and not using the other wing. It's a stability. That's why I'm saying pilots all the time. Rather than being defined by good and bad, I'm saying we pilot through it. And the efficient attention is observing beyond it even. You know, that's literally piloting, you know, where you see somewhere further than where you are, which you are going to, you know. I would like to see every human being, and this is just a recommendation, to, if you need, maybe grab a piece of paper and a pen, but just give yourself like a moment, and don't give it, find a moment where you're not time bound, and just, you know, find a comfortable place and a comfortable placement for your pen and paper, and just for a second, close your eyes and maybe even hold the pen between, you know, your right and left index finger and your, excuse me, your left index and thumb and your right index and thumb. I mean, this is just animating a bit, like you can do this, but I'm saying pretty much find a moment where you try to visualize the most chaotic version of yourself, the most chaotic the most chaotic version of yourself, and then begin to visualize the most chaotic the most ordered version of yourself, as if the wings of the bird are flapping. Like visualize the are opening the so visualize the most chaotic version of yourself, visualize the most ordered version of yourself, and then visualize the most chaotic world, and then visualize the most ordered world, and then realize both selves and both worlds are instantly looking at you now. You are the intersection. That means as if you are more advanced than what your most chaotic self could fathom, could see, the eyes of your most chaotic self, and you are beyond, you know, the eyes of your ordered self. And that's, I wouldn't say the real you when life is, when reality is here, you know, I would say that that is how a universe is alive before classifications of what's in it. To find peace means that something that's not causing peace is being stopped. And I think for a lot of our species, where human beings are trapped in their inner realms or some are trapped in their outer realms, the reason this is there is because the neutrality of the observer of the inner and outer has not been found. The real you if it is beyond an object and subject, it is energetic. It's just literally energy directed, piloted energy. To me, sometimes I know this personally about myself. When I do things, anything, like and or let's say I'm doing a task that requires a lot of energy, and I suddenly, it's like, instead of having thoughts on the act, I literally have, I'll say it this way, I don't hold on to any thoughts in that moment. And in some sense, energetically, the moment knows how to happen. You see, the greatest thing that I think this, one of the greatest things this episode can do is to let people know that there are the eyes of their eyes is the gift that the unknown bestows, and the unknown is pure honesty. Beyond the theatrics of duality, may an advanced civilization arise, and from the shadows that sky cities cast on the surface of the earth, the light of an advanced future. It's as if if the end is a sort of dawn, and we create this word called endana. And even let's say I'm talking and somebody's like in their persona and they're like, no, I'm just my personality. You can learn from how your mind is being your personality. And once you notice how it's present, I'm telling you, it's as if you realize you're not thoughts and you're instantly freed. Memory doesn't shackle you to itself. Memory is like more like a museum that you walk through, where it's like, don't touch, it's like, don't touch what you see, or like an art gallery, right? It's as if somebody suffering is somebody who's they've gone into the art gallery of their memory and they've held on to a picture and they're like, no, it's like, I don't want to see the other pictures. This picture is the whole meaning of everything, right? But if you have an ability to observe without touching, this is something where, for those who are in, let's say, in the esoteric category of culture, don't touch what you see in the inner realms, but see it. What I mean by that is that it's kind of like, what's that thing? Indiana Jones, where he goes into a temple and it's like, you shouldn't touch something, and it's like somebody mistakenly touches something, and it's like, the chaos ensues. It's because the mind, first of all, it's an advanced technology where the species is awakening to its true potential. And sometimes, if you get attached to the imagery in the inner realms, it can make it that when you function in the outer realms, that imagery becomes prioritized. Which, if you are wise, you realize that when you look in the mirror, you have a face, but what is looking at its face is faceless, which means you are presence. You are a field of being on some deep level of how you are. One of the most incredible quotes I've heard in this lifetime, I will tell you, in this life of mine, I've heard, is from this Sufi mystic poet named Hafez. And he says, and it's a very allegorical, I would say it's a very beautiful quote, and he says, bring your neck out of that dark nest in which you hide. I shall pour effulgence into your mind. That is when the soul remembers, where earth is in. That is the roar of the soul. So anyways, The whole species should contribute in coming up with strategies toward the beyond, towards the beyond and the future. We should start honoring the future as if it deserves to look at a great world, and we are at the gardening phase. That means that even though we may not experience the advanced civilization, we can plant its seeds. And, the way you live will suggest the future's meaning. I have attempted to create a community on Discord called School of Athens 2.0. School of Athens was this fresco, this painting in the Sistine Chapel, drawn by Raphael, this painter, Renaissance painter, and the picture implies that philosophers from all around the world are gathering in one place, like the greatest philosophers. And to me, a philosopher is just someone who has attempted to go the furthest, they can in their inner realms. Not just in the outer realms, in their inner realms. That means it's not like you just get a machete and, like the movies, you're like, cutting vines in the Amazons or something to explore something new. It is in your inner realms. How far your attention wanders, how concepts are there. What is the geometry, design, the spacing? Do you know? It's as if beyond the universal, such as color and shape, like outline, or even space. It's as if what is the great? How is the great painter behind the eyes? Landing the brush in the outer realms. After you have learned from external teachers, let's say all the greatest teachers and gurus and enlightened beings in the outer realms, they were all around you, okay? And they were like, all right, we're going to give you our teaching, and let's say you brought cyberspace and all the information technology and scientific endeavor had, and it's as if you as a person had absorbed everything, in the outer realms. And it's as if after you have learned from everything outside of you, that is when you're left to go within. That is when I would say, some people say, if you look, it's like you don't enter the divine enters you, which is another way of saying that you remember pre-thought, and when you remember pre-thought, that instantaneous knowing, which is, you could put an equal sign to, let's say, a sort of inner revelation, the instantaneous knowing prior to the thought-based you already knows how the thought needs to happen. And if you notice this, I'm gonna tell you, it's like, who knew? Everybody's looking for truth outside, but truth is the one looking. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope this episode was helpful, and I'll be on Discord. I'm gonna have like a 10-minute intermission, and then I'll be on Discord for 15-20 minutes in case people want to talk about what I just talked about. So thanks for listening, and the Discord link's in the description, also on the main page. Yeah, I don't know where else it is. It's also in the description of the channel section, but anyways, guys, thanks for listening, and shall we see how the soul roars in matter? They say now or never. I'll say never or now.